Welcome back to another episode of Quick Strike. My name's Jake Ricker. I'm here with my good friend, as always, Michael. Michael, I bet I know the answer to this one, but how you doing today?
3-1 win, 3-1 series lead. I'm doing just fine.
I'm really excited as well. It's a huge win for the Bolts, too, to be up 3-1 now. They've got the potential to close out the series in the next game on Monday. But let's break this one down. I thought the Bolts overall played a very good game again today. They've looked very good these past couple of games. They've really started to come into their full form, I think. But let's get into it. So period one, it was a back-and-forth start, I thought, for the first part of this game. You know, both teams looked pretty decent. Both teams had some chances on either end, but it was a close start.
It was a close start, and we should have expected that, to be honest. The Bruins got embarrassed in Game 3. They wanted to come out firing in Game 4, and I thought the Lightning did a very good job of weathering that storm. Now, as we'll get into, the Lightning were the first ones to capitalize as well, and as the game went on, the Lightning looked like the better team. But to start off the period, I think the Bruins were expecting, we're going to come out firing, we're going to get that goal, and then we're going to keep pushing. And that goal just never came.
Right, and I want to talk about one chance the Lightning had at the beginning of the period here. Kucherov came down the ice and had a shot that it was a great shot, and Halak was able to fend it off with the end of his stick. It was a great save by Halak there, but I think right after that moment is when the Lightning started to take over the game again.
Yeah, and when Halak made that save originally, I'm like, man, this is game one all over again. Like, Halak is making these unbelievable saves, and Vasilevsky's just going to have to be as good and maybe better, and we're just going to have to luck our way into a goal. But, as the game goes on, the older you get as a goaltender, you start to wear down a little bit, and Lightning took full advantage of that.
Right, and exactly. And as you mentioned, we take advantage of that. It's our boy, Andre Palat, who has been playing so well these past couple of games. Braden Point made another amazing play where he deked through a couple of guys and puts that puck in front of the net, and Palat just buries it. A great job by the Lightning on this one. They go up 1-0 early in this one.
Yeah, that pass by Point, that move by Point is just insane. It shows you that he is one of the top players in the NHL. And, full credit to Andre Palat. It takes a lot to get that rifle of a pass so in close and get it over the shoulder of Halak. But the Bruins were 5 in a circle right there near the goal. They weren't covering anybody, and they let that pass go through. Nobody was covering Palat. Like, you say what you will about the Lightning having a really good first period with a lot of chances. On that one, they get rewarded. I don't necessarily know if they were supposed to get rewarded. It was kind of one of those fluky goals. And, our favorite network talks about how the Bruins need to do better rather than the Lightning just being good. But on this play, I thought it was, the Bruins just need to be better.
Yeah, it's true. And when you make mistakes like that, people are going to make you pay. And Palat did that right there. So with that said, we would go to the end of the first period with the Lightning up 1-0. The shots were only 8-9, so a low shooting game with Boston one up on the shots, but the Bolts up in the more important category in the goals. But let's go on to the second period here. The second period I thought was a different period from the first. I thought Boston played pretty well in this period for the majority of it. Now we'll get to the Lightning ended up, benefiting from it overall. But in the early parts, at least, Boston seemed like they kind of came out and played a little bit better than they did in the first.
I would agree to that. Yeah, I would say that they did a really, really good job of limiting the Lightning in the offensive zone. They controlled the neutral zone, which is basically, you control the neutral zone, most likely you will have the puck in the offensive zone for the majority of the time. Vasilevsky was great in the second period. He made some fantastic saves. I know the shots ended up being in favor of the Lightning during that period, but you got to remember, the Bruins were playing from behind. They came out firing, and as we'll get to, there was a reason the Lightning had a shot advantage in that period. But to begin the period, Andre Vasilevsky was outstanding.
Yeah, stellar as always. But let's get to the goal the Lightning score in this one. Despite Boston, seeming like the better team, it's once again Andre Palat. Palat with an absolute rocket that he sent. And this one looked like that one that Halak probably wanted back. And it's because it was a great shot from Palat, and it hit Halak's glove and tipped into the back of the net. But nonetheless, it's a great goal for Palat, and the Lightning go up 2-0 in this one.
Jake, what did I say a couple of games ago about Andre Palat? He should be using his one-timer more. I said this a couple of games ago. The absence of Stamkos on the power play made me think that way. But we saw in this sort of broken play where Anthony Cirelli is on the ice at the same time as Palat and Kucherov. Cirelli just fed him the puck. Palat had a blistering shot. And yeah, you probably want to save that if you're Halak, but good on Andre Palat. I've been really happy with his season, mostly because he's been healthy. He's been able to show what kind of player he really is. And, I do want to mention our favorite network real quick, because I felt like this comment came out of ignorance when they said that, you don't want to give the puck to Nikita Kucherov. You want Andre Palat to shoot the puck. Well, Andre Palat has goals in 3 straight games, and Andre Palat had 2 goals tonight. So I don't know where that comment is coming from, but it is pretty ignorant because it doesn't feel like they're watching the game.
Yeah, Palat's definitely the hot stick right now. And you're right, with no fans in the arena, you can hear a lot more in these games. And when Palat took that shot, you could hear that, I think, back in Tampa Bay. That was such a powerful shot. It was a great shot by Palat. Now, let's get something, though, that it sparked a big conversation, and we'll get to this more, too, later after the game. But Richie has got a hit on Yanni Gourde, where Gourde is a couple feet away from the boards. The puck has already been gone for a couple of seconds now, and Gourde takes a nasty spill into the boards, and he's down on the ice and looks like he's hurt. He didn't move for a couple of minutes. This was a scary one.
It was. It was a really scary hit. I told you before it started that I was really expecting it to be like a broken collarbone or a concussion. Like, I really expected it to be really, really bad because Yanni Gourde wasn't moving. And, they were talking about how it was very similar to the Paquette hit. No, it wasn't. The Paquette hit, while I thought it should have been a penalty earlier in the game, was closer to the boards, and it was not as late in terms of the puck going away from the puck carrier. This one was careless. It was late. It was to the back of Gourde. It was into the boards. It should be a suspension. This is not the Lightning fan in me talking. This is someone that wants to keep our players safe.
Yeah.
Suspend. If even Bruins fans believe that you should suspend Nick Ritchie for that hit. But of course, there are some people in the Boston Bruins that think, nah, it was a clean hit.
This is a terrible hit. There's no doubt about it. And you're right when you mentioned the Paquette hit. When I first saw that, I did think it was going to be a penalty. It wasn't my favorite hit. But there is so much difference between the Paquette hit and the Ritchie hit. Just how far away Gourde was from the boards than the other one is a major difference right there. And when you hit a guy like that, he starts falling. It makes his head so vulnerable. That's not right, but you get my point.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous hit, and Gourde looked like thank God he got off on his own power. He did come back in this game in the third period, which just goes to show how much of a warrior he is and how much he can, he wants to play, obviously. But it's a dangerous hit. It's a very bad hit. There's no question about it. And like you say, even when you have Boston fans upset about that, that's how you know it's a bad hit. But the Lightning do get a 5-minute power play off this. It's a major penalty. Now, Ritchie did not get ejected from this, which, I think he probably should have. But nonetheless, the Bolts get a 5-minute power play off this. And they do end up capitalizing here on the power play. It wasn't until the last minute, but it's Victor Hedman who blasts one from the point. It hit a Boston player in front and flew up in the air. It was a crazy bounce, but nonetheless, it gets behind Halak, and the Lightning are now up 3-0.
I have no sympathy for them. I don't care. Like, after you play a hit like that, I wanted the Lightning to score 7 goals, 8 goals on the power play. The fact they only got 1, I'll take it because the power play's been struggling aside from Game 3. But I was so angry for the majority of that second period until Gourde came back in the third. Kucherov gets another point. He is so good at carrying the puck in the offensive zone. Tyler Johnson got a point on the power play, which is weird to say. And then Hedman with, again, his fourth of the playoffs already, which is weird to see as well. But, you look at the power play and the fact that the Lightning are starting to score, even if it all is once on a 5-minute major, is a very good sign, especially when you're out with Stamkos, out with Gord on this power play, and out with McDonough, who's sometimes on the second unit.
Right, and that's the key right there. As much I'm with you, I wanted the Bolts to score 18 goals there and just absolutely run up the score and make them pay. But the Lightning power play has struggled tremendously in these playoffs, and obviously Stamkos is a huge part of that with him still being out. But we got one goal, and I think that was the important thing because I think if you don't get a goal on this 5-minute power play, obviously that's a huge momentum killer. And Boston probably gained a little momentum off that, but they get the goal at the end of the day, and that's the most important thing. Because also keep in mind, one goal on a 5-minute power play is still a successful power play. So as much as we wanted the score to be run up, the Lightning do get the goal, and they go up 3-0 in this one, which, by the way, brings us to the end of the second period where the Lightning are up 3-0, as I mentioned, and shots are 20-19 at the end of the second. That obviously a large part is due to that 5-minute power play, but Lightning are up in shots nonetheless. Now, let's talk about the third period here. The third period was a really crazy period. Boston, again, they seemed like they had good starts to all these periods, but the Lightning overall were the better team. There were some top-notch saves by Andrei Vasilevskiy where he had to basically fight off every single player that was on the ice in his crease and still keep the puck out.
Yeah, it's really surprising that the Bruins only had 30 shots considering how good they were in each start of the period and how many crazy saves it feels like Vasilevskiy made. But Vasilevskiy was one of their true stars tonight. I don't know if I'd put him in the top three with everybody doing so well, but he was one of their standout performers tonight. And I'm very glad that, he's doing well because you look at the other side of the crease, Halak is not Tuukka-Rask. And we said that at the beginning of the series. Halak's been holding his own, but if Rask was in the net, I think this would be a much different series. So it's really nice that we have Andrei Vasilevskiy in net for us. But it's also good to see he's on one of his hot streaks.
Yeah, he's playing so well. I mean, every game. I don't think there's been, like I said before, one moment where I thought he's played bad. He's just played really good, and that's huge for us. Obviously, people talk about defense wins championships, goaltending wins Stanley Cups. I think in the NHL. So the Lightning did seem to slow down a little bit in this third period, and you mentioned before the show you think that's partly due to because they saw what happened to Yanni Gourde. They didn't want to get in a physical battle with the Bruins, but the Bruins do start to pick up a little momentum nonetheless. The Bolts take a couple of penalties. They weren't terrible penalties, but ones that you would probably want to do without anyway. And the Bruins do end up getting one on the power play. So Boston ends up making this 3-1. It's Jake DeBrusk on the power play. No chance for Vasilevskiy on this one. That's what's going to happen when you take too many penalties.
Yeah, and it was a really, really good pass into the middle of the ice by Charlie Coyle, who has sort of been invisible in these playoffs, if I'm going to be honest. But Jake DeBrusk is a very, very good playoff performer, and we saw that again tonight with his goal, or I should say today with his goal. He has been a solid top six presence for the Bruins, and I wasn't necessarily worried when he scored to make it 3-1, but I was saying, I understand that you are turtling a little bit. You want to stay out of the emergency room, I guess, if you're the Lightning. But, come on, let's pick it up. Let's go into the offensive zone. Because if you don't, this could end up a very different game very quickly.
Right. And to their credit, they did do a good job. They obviously go on to close this one out. It wasn't the perfect closeout, I would say, by any means, but again, at the end of the day, as long as you get the win, that's the most important thing. So at the end of the third, the Lightning are the victors in this one. They take a 3-1 series lead. The shots at the end of the third period are 26-30. So Boston does end up out shooting the Bolts in this one. But then again, the more important stat, the Lightning lead it in goals by 2. Now, before we get to our positive and negatives from this game, I want to talk about what Bruce Cassidy said after the game. And I'm going to read this quote from the interview, and then we'll talk about it here. So Cassidy on Yanni Gourde said, "Good player, clever player, obviously. Got them on the power play for 5 minutes, finished the game with no problem." Now, there's more. Yes, you heard me right. There's more. Cassidy later in the interview said he did a good job. He finished a check. It's a 225-pound man hitting a 175-pound man. Paquette did
this is Nick Ritchie, by the way. He's referring to Nick Ritchie.
Correct. Paquette did the same thing, if not worse, to Kuhlman. I apologize if I butchered that name. The standard is set. That's what he's asked to do. Be hard on people. And I'm going to rant here for a minute because this is just a terrible, terrible comment by Bruce Cassidy. I cannot believe he said that. And I think the NHL should, put a message to this guy. I mean, Yanni Gourde went down on the ice. He tried to get back up, went right back down. That's how he's hurt, obviously, and injured. And let's keep in mind, too, he didn't make a huge impact when he came back in this game. Yes, he came back, but he was probably playing at not 100%. You can't say these things when guys get hurt. And to say that this is the same hit like Paquette is ridiculous. You can look at both these hits side by side. They are completely different hits. To have your coach basically okaying a hit like that is just outrageous and ridiculous.
This is insane, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. And I know that it's been a long, long time since 2011. But it's very reminiscent of Boston Bruins fans in the TD Garden chanting "flopper" at Sammy Salo when he got upended and broke his neck on a play and wouldn't get up. It is very reminiscent of that. And it's not just the fans this time. It's the coach. It is a team mentality that they are out against us. And they are flopping against us so that we have to kill off penalties.
Yeah,
it's unacceptable. It's inexcusable. Yeah. This is the type of thing the NHL, there are many problems with the NHL, don't get me wrong. This is the type of thing, the main problem when it comes to player safety. The Bruins have been one of the league's worst teams when it comes to player safety over the last 20 to 30 years. They don't get to talk about this sort of stuff. And I love the fact that people like Brian Burns and Joe Smith were like, you know what? We're not going to comment on it. We're just going to retweet it and say, all right, guys, this is what was said. Go at it. Because you need to bring awareness to the type of idiocy that you're seeing from people like Bruce Cassidy, people like Nick Ritchie. If Brad Marchand opens his mouth, I hope the Lightning sew it shut in Game 5. Because this is absurd.
It really is. And even if, let's say theoretically here that he's technically right, which he's not, but this puts that mentality, as you mentioned, in your team. People wonder why everybody hates the Boston Bruins. This is why. Because now you might have a Boston Bruins player in there. Maybe it's a younger player too that thinks, oh, well, maybe I didn't do a bad thing. Maybe I should do that more often. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what coach wants me to do. And then they keep doing it. And that it gets worse and worse. Gourde was hurt on the play. He had to come off the ice for an extended period of time. This is an inexcusable hit. It's an inexcusable comment. And I'm very disappointed in Cassidy for this comment. I mean, you've got to be better than this. What if he did get seriously hurt? What if it was a lot worse than it was? Thank goodness it wasn't. So, I'll get off my soapbox here, though. And so let's move on to our recurring segment, our positives and negatives. Michael, I'll start with you. What's your positive? What's your negative from this one?
Man, it's really hard to think of just one positive. I feel like you guys, I said this before, I feel like you guys in Game 3, you were like, oh my God, there's so many positives, I can't think of a negative. Right. I'll start off with my negative. I do think it's very important to bring up. The face-offs is getting quite concerning. The fact that the Lightning only won 34.6% of their faceoffs. And I understand that Patrice Bergeron is very good at faceoffs. That's what he's paid to do, or besides score and defend and all that stuff. But he's one of the top players in the league at faceoffs. But you need to have centermen that can win faceoffs for you. And Braden Point, before this game, I checked on a couple of hockey stats websites, was the only player above 50%. And he was at 65 for the Lightning in the playoffs. That's unacceptable. Paquette needs to be better. Cirelli needs to be better when it comes to faceoffs. Whoever's manning the center position on the third line needs to be better. And, I wouldn't mind if the Lightning were to hold out Gord in Game 5, just because I don't necessarily think he's 100%, and I want to get him rested up. Put Mitchell Stevens in there. Mitchell Stevens, that is his job. He's a face-off specialist. And if the Lightning can even get it up to 55-45, they'll be much better. Because face-offs, as we've seen time and time again, can get you offensive possession, can get you goals.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point before you get to your positive. That's a great point to have Stevens come in for Gord. Obviously, the Lightning are up 3-1, so they have a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously, we don't want to have any disasters here, but definitely I would consider keeping Gord out if he's not 100%. Let him get back to fully healthy, because he's been really big for the Lightning in these playoffs, and Stevens has obviously been great on the faceoff circle, which has been a struggle. So what's your positive, though, for this one?
I hope I'm not taking yours. I'm going with Andre Palat.
Oh, you dirty dog.
Palat has been amazing in these last couple of games. And I've seen a lot of Lightning Twitter talk about, and again, Lightning Twitter is a great place most of the time. Sometimes it is a tire fire. But I've seen a lot of people saying, we need more out of certain players. And one of the players they brought up was Andre Palat. And I was really confused when I heard that, because I felt like he has been, while not as good as Point and Kucherov, because again, they're two of the top 10 players in the league, he has been one of the better players for the Lightning. He is generating scoring chances. Yeah, they might not be going in, but he's playing a solid two-way game. He's mentoring Nikita Kucherov as an older player about, this is what we have to do in order to maintain possession in the 2/3 of the ice that's ours, rather than the 1/3 that's theirs. So I think he's done a very good job. I want to see him shoot with a one-timer more, because it's not broken, don't fix it, to use a line from Phil from Game 3. But, man, he has been so good.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been one of my favorite players to watch for a long time on the Bolts, obviously other than our star players. And, he's an underrated Bolt to me. He's a guy that doesn't stand out to a lot of players, or a lot of people rather, and he still is there working hard and can play really well when he needs to, and he's doing that right now. So I'm going to start off with my positive, actually, for this one in this game. I think my positive for this one is going to be Barclay Goodrow, and the reason I say that is because his response to Nick Ritchie in the fight, I think that's a big deal. Obviously it's not anything that was game-changing or anything like that. I don't think he was even on the score sheet today, but to come out there, especially because Ritchie wasn't out of the game, and to stand up for a player like Gord, I think it's a big deal. I think that's really important for guys to do and make a stance. So my positive from this game is Goodrow. And there's a lot of positives from this game, obviously. There's a lot to be very happy about, but Goodrow is my positive. My negative for this game is the way they started to play at the end of this game. We kind of talked about it before, but they really slowed down in this one, and I think that's something you can't do. Even though you probably are trying to avoid injury or trying not to spark anything, now that the Bruins are down 3-1 especially, they're going to be doing everything they can to stay alive. So if you start to slow down like they did in this one a little bit, Boston will make you pay. So I think my one biggest negative from this, and there's not many, the Lightning played a very good game. They were the better team overall, I thought. So if I've got to pick something, it's that. I think they need to make sure that they don't do that in the next game, which, by the way, Game 5 will be on Monday, I believe, at 8 p.m. I'm not 100% on that. I'll have to double check. Be sure to follow us on Twitter so you can see all the updated game times. But that's all we're going to have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Quick Strike. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you don't miss out on more content like this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Bolts.